we bring to you from Bally Sports, it is Stars expert extraordinaire, Brien Rea. I know I gave you a great intro, a lot to live up to. Do you have what it takes?
With you two guys, is it really that hard? Like, where's the standard at for you fellas?
Low.
Well,
That is a good point.
high, very high.
I know Basic's out, so maybe it is higher. He's not here to defend himself.
That is an excellent point. Now, we have had a lot of debate about this. Do you fear the President's Trophy? Because I do not, but a lot of our fans are like, stay the hell away from getting that thing.
No, I don't. I kind of compare it to, remember when Tiger Woods was like at the all-time height of his dominance, and the question before every tournament was, would you take Tiger or the field? Well, if you're a betting person, you're always going to take the field. Like the odds favor the field. It's the same thing with the President's Trophy. I mean, with as competitive as the NHL playoffs have always been, the field probably has better odds against the team that finishes first overall. But I think when you're looking from a historical perspective, to go through the 82 games and the 6 months, and you have the right to say you finished first overall after that specific journey, that's pretty special. So I don't think you should fear the President's Trophy. I think you should embrace it. And for Dallas specifically, what happened the last time they won the President's Trophy?
They won the Stanley Cup.
Bang, bang. So, you know, to play the nostalgia, to play the superstitions, you've got some stuff riding on your side if you're Dallas. So, no, don't fear it. Embrace it.
You and I are on the same page about this because I have also been shouted down many times over the last couple of weeks.
He's been very bullish about this, for sure. Very bullish about it. It's been nice.
Sports Radio 101, always shout down the other guy, regardless. Even if you don't believe him, like just for good conversation, you have to shout down the other guy.
Oh, that sounds terrible, idiot. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I thought that's what we're doing. Yeah, I thought that's what we're doing. Just that.
I was kind of curious on the Tanev trade. I keep hearing that it's turned out to be exactly what you wanted. Can you kind of explain what he's done for this team, what he's added for this team?
There's a couple of ways to look at it. So first of all, when you add a defenseman of his caliber, it basically pushes everybody else down one rung in the lineup, unless you're Miro Heiskanen or Thomas Harley with the seasons he's had. Stanley Cup caliber teams are deep. They're deeper than all the other teams out there. So yes, some players may lose minutes. They may lose some ice time. That's the cost of doing business when you're trying to win a Stanley Cup. You know, you want to be as deep as possible. Nobody's ever complained about being too deep in any sport trying to chase a championship. The second thing that he brings is his style of play. And if you want to call it meat and potatoes, if you want to call it snarl, if you want to call it defensive defenseman, but the Dallas Stars have had no problem scoring goals all season long. Their biggest problem with air quotes, I mean, my God, they have a chance to finish first overall.
Yeah.
It was keeping the puck out of the net. So when you add a player like Tanev, whose entire DNA is built around defensive play and keeping the puck out of the net, that really blends nicely with what this team has been and what they've been doing. And then the other way to look at it from a statistical standpoint, we were doing these numbers a couple of shows ago. Since before the All-Star break, when you look at, I believe it was goals against, shots on goal, the differential, and the shot attempts differential for the Dallas Stars, they were middle of the pack or bottom half of the league.
Yep.
Since the All-Star break, and you can tie that in with the Tanev trade, I think they're top 10 in all three categories. So that's a collective mindset. That's not all Chris Tanev, but the bottom line is they defensively have improved and changed their mindset in terms of what they're allowing from the other side ever since the All-Star break, which is a phenomenal trend to see going into playoffs. Chris Tanev is a huge part of that. So there's a couple of different ways to look at the Tanev trade that all sort of feed the same beast.
Now, as long as we're talking playoffs, I know you won't face either one of these teams clearly in the first round, but you would in the second round. What do we make of Winnipeg and Colorado, both as teams and as matchups for the Stars? Because most of the season, it felt like, let's avoid Colorado at all costs. And then you beat them, and you're like, oh, maybe, I don't know. And most of the season, you've had Winnipeg's number. Lose the last one? I don't know. And then Winnipeg has gone from being god-awful for a couple of weeks to now being on fire. So what are we to make of these two other top Central teams?
Well, first of all, it's the playoffs. Whoever you get in the first round and the second round, it's an absolute bar fight. Like, it really doesn't matter where you finish. I don't have a one or the other for who I would like to play if Dallas gets to the second round and it's Winnipeg or Colorado. Look, Winnipeg has the goaltender. They have the defensive mindset, and that can be very sneaky dangerous to face in a playoff series. Colorado has the pedigree and the firepower. Who knows what their goaltending is going to be given the last couple of games for them. But also we've seen, with Adin Hill in Vegas, with Darcy Kemper when Colorado won it, you don't necessarily need the Martin Brodeur, Patrick Waugh, number one guy to get you a Stanley Cup. You can get it done if you have the team in front of you. So one team can defend themselves out of their problems. The other team can score their way out of their problems. I don't know if there's one that fits a better matchup mold for the Dallas Stars. Either one is going to be difficult, but also the way the Stars are built, how can you not look at the Stars and just say, all right, either one, let's put the cards down on the table. It's all in, and we'll see who finds a way to get the better end of it. You have to really like the way the Stars are built to take on either one of those teams in a 7-game series. So we'll see how things shake out.
On the flip side, and I hear what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying, if I rooted for the Kings to lose while the Vegas Golden Knights won and kind of flipped around the wild card a little bit, that'd be okay, right? Like, I hear what you're saying, bring them on.
I agree with you on that. If you put the gun to my head, I think LA is a better matchup than the Vegas Golden Knights. But the dreamer in me, come on. If Dallas is going to do this, how awesome would it be to slay that dragon in round one?
You're right.
With a healthy Mark Stone. We all know it's coming.
Yeah.
He's back on the ice. We all know it's coming. But to slay that dragon, playing their LTIR accounting with air quotes again, that would be an awesome first chapter if the Dallas Stars are going to take this dream run that we all hope they can pull off. I
would have been even more hyped if somehow the New Jersey Devils also made the playoffs in the East, and then I could just view that as like my ultimate.
Start checking the boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
All family business gets settled.
Yes. Exactly.
Brien Rea joining us here on the KNC Masterpiece on 105.3 The Fan. I've been saying this for the last few weeks now, and just maybe you can make me look really good or not. Jamie Benn he's looked like the last few weeks he's playing at a different level. And it's a traditional Jamie Benn that we're used to seeing. But it just looked like the last few weeks he was like, you know what, guys, watch, we're going to take this on. Are you seeing the same thing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would 100% agree with you. And you can just look at the point production. I mean, at face value, the point production shows it all off. The thing that I really loved about watching Jamie Benn, it's more that line. All right. Clearly, when Logan Stankoven and the kid came up, he re-energized that line a little bit. And there was clearly some instant chemistry with him and Wyatt Johnston. And Johnston has been just awesome to watch this season. Along with that, they have clearly re-energized Jamie Benn. And I think Jamie Benn not necessarily re-energized them, but those three have put themselves in a place where they are bringing out the best in each other. It's the same thing we saw from the Hintz, Pavelski, Robertson line, the last couple of years. It's what we saw with Duchesne, Marchment, and Sagan this season, especially in the first half, and we're seeing it now with those three. I have just a sports fan theory, if you will. The Stars probably have the most veteran team, or one of the most veteran teams in the NHL. And veteran teams know when it's time to put their foot on the gas. And it's not necessarily that veteran players aren't trying or not giving their full or not putting in full effort, at different parts of the season. It's just veteran players know the nuances of a game and the ebbs and flows of a game when things require the RPMs to get redlined, and maybe you can, drive the car with the brake instead of the accelerator. And Jamie Benn's a player like that. Pavelski's a player like that. Suter, Marchment, there's so many veterans in that lineup. And I think we're seeing Jamie right now realize, okay, we don't need to be playing our best hockey in game 81 or 82. We need to start putting the habits in place in March. And I think that's what this team has been doing, which is why they've been on such a hot run. They've been putting the habits in place to be in that mindset that when the playoffs start, game on. Here we go. We've got to take our shot.
Yeah, it's not.
I would agree with you.
Yeah, it's not one of those moments where you're unprepared for playoffs. So we've already kind of we've been in this mode for a little bit. I like that.
How does that work in terms of expectations for somebody that you mentioned in Jason Robertson? Last year had one of the greatest individual stars or North Star seasons we'd ever seen, but he felt disappointing in the playoffs. And that might be too harsh, but I thought he was kind of disappointing in the playoffs. This year, clearly down from a statistical perspective, what are expectations for him in the playoffs?
That's the question. He was coming off that just heater of a season. And so I do think there was some expectations like, oh, well, he's got to shred the playoffs the way he did last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could say he struggled to score at certain times in the playoffs. I think that's a fair criticism. I also think this year he's a much better player mentally, and he's more prepared for how he's going to figure out to score goals or put up points in the playoffs. So I think
how so on that.
I think it's no secret the playoffs are a harder game to play in the NHL. It is harder to find time. It is harder to find space. And so I think for him, whether it's an effort thing, whether it's a finding different pockets on the ice to go to, whether it's timing to attack certain parts of the ice, I think he's going to have a much better awareness of when to do those certain things, how to do those certain things. And maybe it becomes an ugly goal scenario for Jason Robertson. We don't see him sniping goals the way we're used to. Maybe it becomes, I have to score the classic greasy goal, right? It could be something like that. I think that remains to be seen a little bit for how does he look come playoff time in terms of producing. But just to backtrack a little bit, I think it's also important to manage some expectations with Jason Robertson. So if you think about it, he scored 109 points last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
He could be 20 points fewer, 10 goals and 10 assists, and he would still be over a point per game this season. Like when you put some context to it, yeah, that's the kind. Like the season he had last year, that very well could go down and be the greatest season of his career. It just happened to be in his third NHL season?
Yeah, Kevin's definitely one of those guys that if you've done something, now you have to be better and better and better every single time.
Yes. Yeah, he could score 90 points a year for the rest of his career.
Disappointment. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, and is he a disappointment? Right. So you do have to sort of put a couple things in context and maybe look at what future context could be. He's still the leading point getter, and he's still a point per game player. And if he gets into this year's playoffs and the Dallas Stars go on a run, and he's a point per game player in the playoffs,
I'll take it.
That's no longer expectations. That's consistency.
Yeah.
So, but to get back to your original question, I do think you could argue this is an important playoff for Jason Robertson. And what do we see out of him over the first round and hopefully into the second and the third round, if Dallas can make this happen? It's something to watch with Jason Robertson, but I'm excited and I'm fired up to see what he can do.
Do you take credit for the name of the phenomenator, or is that somebody else?
No,
it's an amazing name.
No, it's a phenomenal name. I have no credit whatsoever. The only thing I will take, if it ever catches on, which I don't think it will because I'm a Jimmy Buffett fan, I've called the Ben Johnston Stan Colvin line, the captain and the kids line, because tomorrow's just a day away.
Yep.
So if you're not a parrot head, tough, but I am. So I'll lean into it. I'll lean into that one hard. I'm dying on that hill.
If you could would you never listen to Jimmy Buffett again if it meant the Stars won the Cup this year?
Ooh, man.
Gosh.
We wait until the end for the big questions.
That's wow. You know what? I'm trying to justify it in my head right now.
Trying to find loopholes
to say yes to that. Well, yeah, I'm like, is there like a Mac McAnally live album that like Jimmy Buffett appears on? Like, does that like
he can be a feature. You can listen to him as a feature.
If I listen to like Zach Brown tunes, but they feature Jimmy Buffett,
you're okay.
Like, hey, if Vegas can find the LTIR loophole, then I should be able to find the Jimmy Buffett loophole and still get the Stars the Cup.
That's what I'm going to call it.
I'll say yes to the question there.
Hey, that's what I'm going to call this entire playoff run. Seeking the Jimmy Buffett. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Thank you very, very much, good sir, and we hope to talk with you plenty during the playoffs.
Absolutely. Anytime, guys. It's good to talk to you, and get ready. This should be a fun one.